So I'm walking over here in Constantinople to a church that was built in the 500s, and actually to the left of me, just 4 minutes down the road, is the Hagia Sophia. Anyways, as I'm walking to this church, I was just taking a look at some news items, and people are saying that Cardinal Fernandez, the head of the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith, has confirmed in a press office conference, a Holy See press office conference yesterday, that the Vatican will continue with fiducia supplicans. So it's blessings for homosexual couples. This is something I've spoken about at length on the channel. Very controversial in nature. A lot of people were hoping that Pope Leo would, reverse this. I've been telling people, it's unlikely. Pope Leo appears to be in continuity with Pope Francis on all these things, for better or worse. So it looks like, he's going to keep that in effect. Now, I was also watching a few reactions to this by, for example, Bishop Joseph Strickland, who was removed from ministry by Pope Francis through Pope Leo XIV, before Pope Leo was the Pope. Pope Leo XIV was in charge of the dicastery over the clergy and was himself involved in that decision to remove Strickland. Well, I wanted to see what Strickland said. And he's not happy, of course. He's saying that the Vatican has effectively abandoned the faith. He says that the church now admits that the church can bless sin. I'm left scratching my head thinking, wait a minute. You're a Catholic bishop, and you believe that the church now blesses sin. Now, he's opposed to it, of course, but he does believe the church blesses sin. If that's true, if the church now blesses sin, if it's not making all the 1,000 distinctions that it makes in the document, but rather is actually blessing sin, as Strickland says, why is he sticking around? It seems that the church has falsified itself at that point. If the church officially, in its magisterial decisions, blesses sin, it's falsified itself. Why waste your time with Catholicism? So I'm perplexed by figures like Strickland, who believe this on the one hand, but then urge people to stay Catholic. It makes no sense. Not only that, he was saying, well, you know what? We have to obey God rather than men, quoting from the book of Acts. And of course, this is a reference to the leaders in Jerusalem that rejected Jesus. And the apostles had to obey God rather than men, because they were telling the apostles they need to abandon their faith in Jesus. But wait, I thought that the teaching authority of the church, the magisterium, was categorically different than the teaching authority under Moses. I thought the teaching authority of Jesus and his successors is categorically not the same as that which was under the seat of Moses with the children of Israel. I thought there were promises made to the church like the gates of hell won't prevail against it. But here he seems to think that the magisterium is just as bad as the Jewish leaders that crucified Jesus. If that's true, then the magisterium is categorically no different at all than the teaching authority that the Jews had, which itself, I think, is an implicit admission of the defectibility of the Catholic Church, if what he's saying is true. So again, I'm left wondering, with his perspective, why would you remain Catholic? Why wouldn't you go Eastern Orthodox or look to some other option outside of Christianity altogether? why continue to remain Catholic? It makes no sense. Seems like he's admitting the church has been falsified without really admitting it. Maybe he doesn't realize what he's admitting. I suspect he doesn't. But it's quite the comparison that he makes. If the magisterium is that bad that it blesses sin and is preventing people from entering the kingdom of God, sounds like you shouldn't waste your time with the Catholic magisterium. Sounds like you shouldn't waste your time with the papacy. Ironically, he tells people to follow the papacy, follow the chair of St. Peter, all the while saying that the chair of St. Peter is leading people to perdition, and you can't follow it. You have to resist it and follow God. There's an inherent contradiction in what he's attempting to say. So I think he wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants to accuse the church in its magisterium of this kind of sin. But at the same time, he wants to still maintain that Catholicism is true and that the gates of hell won't prevail against it. If the church can bless sin, this whole stuff about the church, the gates of hell won't prevail against the church, it becomes nonsense. It becomes nonsense. If the church can bless sin officially, not in its abuses, but actual official documents, you can forget the whole thing about the gates of hell won't prevail against the Catholic Church. You can toss that out the window. It becomes useless. What good is such a promise if the church in its official magisterium blesses sin? And how is what Bishop Strickland's saying not effectively the same conclusion that the Protestant reformers came to? Still trying to figure that one out too. Seems like Martin Luther held to a similar view, similar understanding of the magisterium. I don't know. Y'all let me know. What am I missing? Put your answer in the comment section. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe button. We'll see you later. God bless.